Welcome everyone to the second episode of Real Talk with Toby. Now, today I've got my good friend Bailey here to talk about 20th Century Fox's new film, Deadpool 2. How's it going, Bailey?
I'm excellent, Toby. How are you?
I am exceptional. Now, this film stars Ryan Reynolds, Josh Brolin, Zazie Beetz, and Julian Dennison. What were your first impressions, Bailey?
I really enjoyed it. It'll obviously be compared to the first Deadpool all the way through, and it may not have been as good as the first one because the first one was excellent, but I still really enjoyed myself, had a really good time.
Yeah, I agree with you. The first movie was so fresh, but yeah, I thought this film was fantastic as well. Ryan Reynolds is so born to play this role. It's not funny. Like, he is Deadpool, just like Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man, and it makes me happy seeing him on screen. After hearing he spent like 11 years developing the first one, he's finally got the first one and now a sequel that's going to do really well. Do you reckon this film was twice as big? I know every sequel tries to be twice as big, twice as funny. Did you think this one was?
I think it's hard to compare because Deadpool, like, as a character and as a movie, obviously pokes fun at itself, and the second one just gives itself more opportunity to do that because obviously the first one's already occurred. In terms of being, like, twice as big as the first one, I'm not sure about that. Here's
how I like to break it down. Like, the first one had the shock factor where it went from 0 to 10, and I feel like Deadpool 2 was a 10 to maybe a 15. Like, some of the things I saw on screen I never thought I'd ever see on screen because it'd be, like, illegal for some of the things. But it definitely didn't have that full shock factor like the first one. But I still thought they did pretty well. They definitely made fun of how it was a sequel, but I think they had a lot more originality than most comedy sequels or superhero sequels.
One thing I was worried about going in was that the majority of the jokes would poke fun at it being a sequel and wouldn't rely enough on original content. And, you know, obviously there are a few jokes about here and there about it being a sequel, but all in all, like, the jokes were original and unique, apart from a few, like, I wouldn't call them homages, but to the original film kind of thing. One thing, I did like the movie a lot, and it's really refreshing to see a movie like this because it's just so different kind of thing. And you get in and you don't have to worry about it being like an excellent story or excellent acting. You can just sit back and appreciate the character of Deadpool, which obviously is acted very, very well by Ryan Reynolds because it's the part he was born to play.
100%, yeah, for sure.
And that's why it's a really, like, entertaining movie to go into because you can just sit back and you can just laugh along with the story and it doesn't really matter what happens.
Yeah, and Josh Brolin, what did you think of him as Cable? I thought he was pretty good. He was pretty mean.
I thought it was excellent. And, like, in the production phase, people were like, Josh Brolin's not tall enough to play Cable. Like, he's tiny. And they did poke fun at that in the movie.
Well, he's taller than me.
He is taller than me as well. But but as an actor and, like, the way he acted it, I thought it was excellent. Like, every time he was on screen, I think he stole the show.
Yeah.
Which is hard to do when there's people like Ryan Reynolds and Zazie Beetz on screen. So.
I definitely have a few nitpicks with how they handled the villain in this film. But I think his performance was very good, and he's having one hell of a year playing villains. One hell of a year. He's only played 2, but 2 of the most memorable ones I can probably think of. I reckon he's going to be pretty memorable for years to come.
Yeah, I agree. Like, especially because both villains in Thanos and Cable aren't just, like, mindless villains that want to kill everyone. They actually have a purpose behind their... Like, they have an intention. Yeah. So that's probably one thing that I really enjoy. And he plays both of them exceptionally well.
Which one do you prefer, Cable or Thanos?
It's hard to tell. Like, as a character, I probably prefer Cable because I think he has more capability to be entertaining.
Yeah.
But Thanos's backstory is scary. And his backstory and his intention behind his actions is far more powerful, I think.
Yeah, and going back to the jokes, do you reckon the jokes in this film landed more than the jokes in the last film? Which one do you reckon was funnier?
I'd say the first one's funnier. There's probably more jokes in the second one because they kind of keep throwing them at you.
Yeah.
But the first one had the benefit of, I guess, surprise in that you go into this movie not really expecting much in terms of Deadpool 1, and then it just throws everything at you and you're like, holy moly, like this is just like a barrage of jokes. And it was excellent, the first one. And the second one still has that barrage of jokes, but you're kind of a little more used to it.
Yeah. I think it's always going to go back to that shock factor, but it doesn't mean it's a bad film, guys. It is a great film. It's just we kind of know what we're going to go into. See, when I watched the first one, I had no idea. I was like crying from laughter within the first 20 seconds of the first one, and this one definitely had that slower start compared to the first one, because we're only used to this like super quick jokes, gore, whatever, but this one wasn't like that at all. What do you reckon about the theme? Like, the theme behind this movie is, without spoilers saying, it's quite uncharacteristic of Deadpool. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. There was an attempt to kind of humanize the character of Deadpool, which story wise I don't really like 100% agree with, because
He's a merc with a mouth. He's annoying. He's supposed to be annoying. He's full of quips, and I think there was a couple of moments where I just felt like there was moments where he was being nice and humble and warm when he should have been joking around, and then joking around when he should have really been serious in terms of the plot and what they were trying to communicate. So I think there was a few times where they kind of got it mixed up. But I didn't mind it. I thought it was interesting. Like, I didn't expect them to try and go down that path for the film, but I didn't mind it. Like, it wasn't. I'm not really there for, the plot and like learning moral and ethical lessons in a bloody Deadpool film. But
yeah, like as I was saying before, they did try and humanize him and kind of bring him back down to earth. And that kind of made it so that a lot of emotional scenes weren't as believable. Because like you don't really have this emotional connection to Deadpool. You're just kind of observing. And even when he's like, not necessarily emotional scenes, but in these more serious scenes, you're always waiting for a punchline. Yeah. And it does make it not difficult to watch, but a little bit like you're always on the edge of your seat waiting for a punchline, and it just doesn't come.
That happened in one scene specifically.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the same one, but yeah.
You guys will know which one it is, so you can tell us that in the comments,
But as Toby was saying, like, you don't really go to Deadpool to worry about the story, so if it's not really relevant to the story, you can just forget about it. Like, that's why it's not really a big thing to me.
Yeah.
Because I go just to really enjoy this film because it's so refreshing. So.
Yeah. Something that was in the first one that I don't hear many people talking about is the soundtrack. I love the soundtrack of the first one. It had some awesome, like, unique sounds to it. What did you think about the soundtrack in this one?
The soundtrack in this one, like, it was a little bit forgettable, but not in a bad way, I guess, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like, it did still link to the unique sounds of the first one, and kind of just, like, maybe it was, like, similar artists or similar songs in the similar situations.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as unique because you had seen it in the first one.
Yeah, my opinion on it is, like, the soundtrack in the first one was good and all, and they had a couple of, like, Wham songs as well put in there at the end, and everyone loved that. And I think they took that and probably overused all the power ballads and not enough of the actual like official soundtrack. I don't know who the composer was for it. I can't remember, but it was definitely more focused on Wham.
Yeah. I will say there's a song in the end credits that I wasn't expecting. You guys will know it when you hear it, that I did enjoy quite a bit. So
yeah, well that's a good segue, because you guys need to stick around for the end credits. Well, technically they're mid credits, but stay around for them. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, they're excellent. They're probably one of the. I mean, obviously Marvel does so many end credits, but this is probably my favorite.
Yes, it's definitely one of my favorites, and kind of going along with those cool little treats that we get as an audience, the cameos in this film as well are awesome. So keep your eyes peeled for those sneaky little cameos.
There are some that are only a few seconds long, but they are well worth the wait.
Oh, for sure. And wrapping this up, look, the film probably wasn't as good as the first one. I enjoyed it the same amount because I was going in like a really good mood, and like I kind of knew what I was expecting, so I could go along with it. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10 right now, but it may go no higher than an 8. It probably might change in the weeks to come, but because it's only so recent, I'm still feeling pretty raw about it. I give it an 8 out of 10. What about you, Bailey?
I'm probably a little less than that, maybe like a 6.5 or a 7. Probably erring on the side of 7. I think the emotional believability can be a bit strange to me sometimes, and also like they did a little bit of setup for a potential X-Force franchise, which kind of doesn't sit right with me in like
Yeah.
a business sense kind of thing. Because
Watching the first film had such like an indie film kind of vibe to it, where they didn't care about all they wanted to do was make this film and make it right. This one here, you could definitely feel like there's potential sequels in the making for it.
you could also feel like a little extra commercialism kind of like pushed into it.
Yes.
Which obviously has to happen for it to be made.
Yes, and we kind of know 20th Century Fox is renowned for trying to push those sequels and having a bit of interference with films, but
So I wasn't too concerned about that, but it
Yeah.
was a little bit on the nose in the
Yeah.
film. So
well, would you be open to more sequels?
with certain characters potentially, like there are some like Domino for example. I thought she's an excellent character.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about Zazie
I think we should go into
Oh
more
my
about
gosh.
we should go more into about the directing and the characters and that sort of thing. I think.
Zazie Beetz is fantastic in this film. She is also incredible in Atlanta. Shout out to the TV show Atlanta. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It is amazing, and she is amazing in this film. And I do like her character.
Yeah, Domino's a really great character, and it is said in the movie, like, and you've probably seen it in the trailers, that like her superpower is luck, and that it's not cinematic, but it's excellent to watch her
It
in
is.
action. Like, I think her action scenes probably stole the show for the majority of the movie.
And then a quick comment about New Zealand-born Julian Dennison, who you might have seen in Hunt for the Wilder People, and boy, he was pretty good as well. I feel like his character was kind of going around in circles with some of the lines. It was just like... I'm trying not to spoil it, but it was just kind of like the same lines in the middle of the film. He just kept on saying the same stuff, and it's like,
I think the substance of his character was a little bit shallow. And he's an excellent actor, but I don't think he had a whole lot to work with the character. Because
Yeah.
as Toby said, he was going around in circles. But he is an excellent actor. Like in Hunt for the Wilder People, absolutely fantastic.
Yep, so that's another thing Marvel can thank Taika Waititi for. Shout out to Taika again. He's been brought up in both of them now. I think this is like a running thing. Taika Waititi is a legend. He's a legend of the game.
Yeah, I think he's even changing the game as well. Not only just a legend, but he's kind of like turning on its head a little bit. So that's good.
Yep, so keep an eye out for his future
But
projects.
on directors, maybe we should talk about David Leitch, who's the director of Deadpool 2.
Yes.
I think there was like in the pre-production phase, I thought, and production, I thought there was a little bit of controversy when Tim Miller kind of got the boot or left. I'm not 100% sure. And I was actually a little bit worried for the production of Deadpool 2.
This is what I'm talking about studio interferences.
Yeah, it makes life rough. Like, I thought Tim Miller killed it for his directorial debut in Deadpool 1.
Yes, yeah.
And so I was like, hell yeah, like Deadpool 2, he's going to kill it again. And then I heard he's leaving, and I'm like, this is problematic.
Worrying.
But then David Leitch is excellent in his own right, and I think he brings something else to the table as well, where Tim Miller might have excelled in directing comedy. David Leitch excels in directing action.
Action for sure. Could you tell everyone what other films David Leitch has done in the past?
Well, he is uncredited director for John Wick, which I think
Yes.
is just on its own an outstanding achievement, because John Wick's action is some of the best in cinema.
Yes, I think the audience knows that I'm a bit of a John Wick fan already, and you can definitely tell in the action sequences in this film
Yes,
that there's a
definitely.
bit of John Wick.
Yep, and he also did Atomic Blonde, which as a whole, as a movie, I was not a fan of at all.
Yep.
The only part of the movie that I was a fan of was the action scenes.
Yes.
And the action scenes in Atomic Blonde are fantastic.
Yep, same reason as John Wick, you know, instead of this stupid shaky cam bullcrap, he's locking the camera down so the choreographers can, you know, have their time to shine, and you can see everything play out, and it looks more visceral anyway.
Yeah.
It looks more
Yeah.
believable instead of, you know, wanting to throw up trying to watch a action sequence like in the latest Jason Bourne film.
And the reason he's so good at making these action sequences that are so like excellent is that he is an ex-stuntman himself, so he knows what realistic action looks like.
Yeah, he gets it.
And then he went into second unit directing, which is obviously directing most action sequences.
Yep.
And then went into his directing. So I think that as an ex-stunty and an ex-second unit director, he really excels in that. So
Yeah.
and it definitely shows in Deadpool 2. Like, the action was a lot of fun.
There's a lot of talented people out in Hollywood, and there's a lot of untalented people, and I think the audience needs to know who these talented ones are instead of people who only care about explosions and pretty colours. Michael Bay.
Although Michael Bay does do what he does very well as well, but I'm not a huge fan of that.
Make money. He's starting to not even do that now.
Yeah, it's a good
His
point.
latest Transformers film, I think Avengers got more money than the latest Transformers film in the first maybe hour.
Oh, probably. I mean, like, but that's hard to
Pre-orders.
compare when
Yeah.
when the Avengers is such a huge franchise. Like, everyone knows it.
Yeah. Comment in the comment section if you want me to do a rant about Michael Bay as well, because I can go on for hours. My friends know this. I can go on.
Yeah, it's true.
I can go on for days. Anyway, wrapping things up today. Thanks, Bailey, for coming along. You've been awesome today. Have you enjoyed yourself?
Oh, it's been excellent. Thanks for having me. I'd love to come back another time sometime.
Of course. What's the next film you're excited for?
Next film I'm excited for. I recently saw Spike Lee's trailer for Black Klansman,
Yep.
and it looks excellent. I love Adam Driver,
Yeah.
and I think it'll be a lot of
I
fun.
need to check it out. I've heard pretty good things though. When does that one come out?
I have no idea when it comes out. I know it just filmed at Cannes Film Festival,
Yeah.
and it's a contender for the Palme d'Or.
Wow.
So we'll see how it goes.
I think the next film I'm excited for might be Solo, but not for Solo, just Donald Glover.
Just
because,
Donald Glover?
again, I've probably said this maybe 3 times on this page. I am the biggest Donald Glover fan in the world. If anyone needs to know one thing about me, it's that I love Donald Glover and he looks awesome as Lando. So I'm going to go watch it for Lando, not for Solo, but just for Lando. And
How
that
would you
should
like
be it.
how would you like a Lando spin-off? As long as it's got Donald Glover in
As
it?
long as Donald Glover's going to be acting in it and there's an okay director or just an okay writer, I think we should be okay. But I wouldn't say I'm looking for it, but if it happens, it happens. I know there's rumors already. I just love how Donald Glover releases this music video and then all of a sudden Solo, the only point of advertising for Solo is Donald Glover. I think they're kind of looking at their mistake so far of hiring someone that no one really wants as Han Solo, but he could do well. I haven't heard too much from it.
I guess we just have to wait and see.
Well, keep your eyes peeled, guys, because it's coming pretty soon. The film comes out soon, so expect it pretty soon after, because I'm pretty eager to talk about it and just talk good things about Donald Glover again. Anyway, comment what you think in the comment section. Like, share with all your friends. You guys know what to do because you're absolutely amazing, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.